shy.
No.
Okay, start.
Okay, we're ready. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm here with Synthetic Cinema, and we're going to talk about making independent movies here in Connecticut and hear about what they're doing here. I'm from Connecticut Film Center, and why don't you guys just sort of go through and introduce yourselves so everybody knows who you are.
I'm Kevin Shea. I'm an actor for Synthetic Cinema, and proud to be there.
My name's Colin Sullivan. I do sound and some editing.
My name's Colin, also Colin, but I'm Colin Thays. I directed their last film, and I've done digital effects for the last two.
I'm Andrew Gernhard. I'm one of the owners of Synthetic Cinema. I'm also the producer of the features.
I'm John Doolin. I co-wrote the last feature and wrote the upcoming feature.
And I'm Jason Criscolo, associate producer, production manager, kind of jack of all trades.
Okay, great. So we got the whole team here, or most of the team here. Now, you guys were making movies before the Connecticut tax credit, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I did my first feature in 1999, but Synthetic Cinema did its first feature in actually 2004. So it was well before the tax credits.
And tell us about the kind of movies you guys are making.
We do low-budget creature feature stuff, very niche stuff. They go direct to DVD, direct to TV. They're mostly, picked up by Lionsgate, Universal. Dimension Extreme is interested in our newest one. So we do, like I said, direct to DVD, monster stuff. Anything that you see in Blockbuster that doesn't have a major star, usually that's what we like to fulfill that gap right there.
Very cool, very cool. So really, before the tax credits, there was an industry here.
Yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't say there's a huge industry here now, but I mean there's more of an industry now than there was back in 2004. I mean, now there's these big films coming in. When in 2004, I think when we were doing Predator Island, there was one other feature that I was shooting. That was like 2 days for Tom Cruise did War of the Worlds or something.
Right.
And I think Stepford Wives did even a week or something. I think that was it.
Sure.
But you're seeing more and more films now with the tax credits.
Sure. So, do the tax credits help what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, our productions are low budget, but they're over what what the tax credits are. So they do help us out. We also do a lot of corporate and commercial stuff that we can apply tax credits to as well.
It works for all those.
Yeah, it works for all of them.
Good. And is that working? You're getting the tax credits and.
Yeah, so far so good. There was a little bit of our first one went through a couple back and forths, but our next one seems to be going through a little faster.
Right. Very good. So, and where are you located?
We're right in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, about 10 minutes outside of Hartford.
Where do you shoot?
We shoot all in Connecticut. What we pride ourselves on is that we use all Connecticut crew, all Connecticut actors, all Connecticut locations. I mean, it's rare for somebody to, we're actually using the tax credits as they should be used in Connecticut and keeping everything Connecticut-based. So that's a reason to tax credit for. We do shoot all over the state, everywhere from some town called Moosip. Has anybody even heard of Moosip? Yeah, we shot up in Moosip, this last film we did, all the way to New Haven. Right now we're searching for a location for our next feature called Sasquatch Assault.
Very nice. Very cool. So, and then you have sound engineer, you're a director also?
Yeah, and a visual effects artist.
Uh-huh. And so you guys are doing a lot of the sort of makeup effects, and is there any computer visual effects? Or?
Well, I specialize in digital effects, so I do computer graphics, but all of the films have a lot of makeup effects because they're low budget horror. They're all about the gore and the splatter.
Sure.
But for the latest feature for Banshee, the monster is completely computer generated, because it is a creature that would be basically impossible to do with a suit. And the last one had some CG in it.
Right.
And so I think the next one is going to be back to a suit, though.
Yeah, we'll be back to a suit, probably like a couple shots of jumping. Stuff that a suited guy can't do.
Right. So are there a lot of people here who do from the special effects, visual effects side? Are there people here? Is there companies that are helping to do this, or are you guys it?
Practical or digital?
Practical.
Practical effects, there's really not that many people. We've used the same one guy for the past 3 features. But we're always looking for, especially this new one, we need a suit built. So we are looking for practical stuff. I think practical stuff, if you're not in LA, it's even hard to find people in New York that do practical stuff because everything's digital now.
Right.
And you know, our new one with the Sasquatch, the Sasquatch is actually a character rather than just a monster. A monster you don't have to really linger on, but the Sasquatch we're gonna have to see actually emotion from it, because it's like Harry and the Hendersons except a little bit more vicious. And so we need to get some close-ups of it. So we are, you know, we're gonna use our older guy with some newer people to make it the best we can.
Right.
But visual effects is tough to find,
Sure.
like practical effects.
And what about the digital? Is that
Well, I don't know about a lot of other people in the state just because
Right.
I do it. So for our productions, we do everything in-house. We had a couple of very small things that we found other people to help with, but for the most part, we do all the effects ourselves.
right? And now with the tax credits, are you making more movies than you made before? Or are you?
We're gonna do one feature a year, and we're not doing any more because our company split up into 3 departments. One is an education department. We do teaching of video production.
Oh, that's great.
We start up a communications program at Mitchell College in New London, and another 1/3 of our production is actual commercial and corporate production, and then the last third is the movies. The movies are usually a drain of money for 6 months, and then the income comes in after that. So, you know, we'd like to do more, but in truth, the market's very, very much down right now.
Right.
My buyers aren't spending what they used to spend on the movies, even in 2005. I mean, I have a guy who buys literally $10 million movies for $200,000.
Right. I mean, that's something that's been affecting the whole industry.
Yeah.
There's less in the way of movies that are being picked up for the foreign markets. It's gotten trickier. So how do you guys see dealing with that going forward?
We're kind of changing our business model actually this year with actually a foreign distribution and everything. We figured out distributors are basically. Where's the smack? And it was her. Wait, who is it? Who is it? This was my intern,
You're
and
in
her
trouble.
phone went off. Her phone went off.
But it was
Wow.
a good tune.
Wow. No tax credits for you.
Match the dress, very nice.
Oh my goodness. Look, now she's turning red. Yeah. I think she might explode at the camera.
All right.
So yeah, I mean the markets have dwindled all around in America.
Right.
A lot of pirating's going on, which I know is
Yes.
affecting a lot of our sales in Asia. So I mean Japan, who used to spend a lot of money on these films, has really dropped down to almost nothing. But you know, you just got to find the right market. We do very specific creature feature stuff. And there's the phone again.
I turned it off too. All right.
Can you make a low budget film on
She's very popular.
There's a movie called Cell Phone or something.
So as far as making independent films go, any kind of independent film, you know, I mean, how are you guys doing it selling these? It sounds like you're selling them.
Yeah, I mean we finished Banshee. When was it? Last week.
Yeah, last week.
Last week we finished Banshee, and I already have 6 offers.
Yeah.
Without even going to a festival.
Unbelievable.
It's because I go for a very certain market. It took me 7 years to get to know the buyers. The buyers have got to find you because in reality, there's only about 5 people in America that can do anything with your film.
Right. That's
And
right.
you just have to know those people.
For anybody who knows the independent film world and marketing to the independent film world, selling your movies, it's incredibly difficult. So these guys are a huge success story. And I think you guys are a success story before the tax credits. You're here, you're in the business. I think it's pretty amazing. It's unusual. So it's great that you guys can share this with us. Why don't we go down? You're the actor?
Yeah, I've been in 3 of their features.
Listen, you got to talk.
He's got a great voice.
This guy is an actor.
No, I've been in 3 of their features, and these guys are probably the greatest to work with. You can improvise on set. Colin doesn't smack me around too bad when I throw something into the script that he doesn't agree with, and it gives you great direction. And I've just had the greatest time, even at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
to try to get the character going right, And Colin is always there. He's always pushing you a little. No, I don't want it that way. Give me a little more this way. No, a little harder edge on that. A little harder edge. And you know, it's a lot of fun. These guys are great. And I've worked on other projects with other people in films, and they're just so rigid and precise in what they want. That's not the way a film ends up. A film ends up the way the director and the actors and everybody else works together to push it in that direction, not hardline it in that direction.
Right.
So
And were you acting in, what were you doing before you met them?
I owned a sales promotion agency in Westport.
And you heard his voice.
And
He
I
said-
no, I retired. I retired from that. I
How
sold
did
my
I
business.
meet you, Kevin?
I came
you
up.
come to an
I
audition?
came up to an open call, right? And you were looking for a token senior to kill.
Yeah, and then we jabbed a thing in your throat,
and I got the.
and there was like green stuff
Right.
spraying everywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the start of my illustrious career.
He's grown in screen time. 'Cause
So you have talent with green stuff.
yeah, with green stuff and
and getting
blood.
thrown across buildings.
Yes, I was thrown across a building. I've been thrown off of balconies. These guys do it all
Are you
for
a stuntman? I mean, you've become a stuntman?
You do your own stunts here, absolutely.
They
And,
sign a
you know,
waiver
that's-
saying
yeah.
that if they get killed,
If they get
we're
killed,
not responsible.
They'll get the headstone for
We
you.
will use the footage.
No, on our projects, when we do the stunts, I had to even ask for a mattress. They were gonna just throw me down the staircase.
Sad but
Do you
true.
remember that? Yeah, throw me down the staircase. So it's great, and you have to be prepared with these characters.
Right.
Because, if you're not, you're gonna get hurt. And I bruise easy. You know? I'm a softie.
So are you SAG?
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to do this if I was
Okay,
SAG with these
that's
guys.
what I want to touch on that a little bit because there's a lot of big productions in Connecticut, and my company works with a lot of big productions, but there's also a lot of smaller productions in the state in Connecticut, is that's something that's feasible to do?
Yeah, well, our deal, if we had any like unions, like a directing union or that, they would not purchase our films.
Right.
Ours got to be basically pure profit for the distributors, so they just want to like buy it outright and make money on it. If you look at Lionsgate, last year they made like $800 million, and like 400 million of it was from DVD sales. It was
Right.
huge. And our werewolf film was like one of their top sellers. It's actually listed in there as one of their top sellers.
That's great.
And our little werewolf film beat like an $11 million Steven Seagal film
Right.
in rentals, which I never thought. I would never think in like Variety magazine publishes like the top 10 rentals, and I never thought I would ever see any of our films on that
Right.
rental thing, and it did it, which is amazing.
So the idea that there's that this tax credit in this program, it's only working for big movies. It's also working for small movies, and it's working for non-union crew also, because the people who are working on your movies are non-union.
Yeah. I've tried to convince, for the tax credit, some of the distributors I work with to shoot stuff out here, and they really don't want to. They are, for one thing, when you work with people out of LA, they think everybody outside of LA is not really a filmmaker, I guess, kind of thing. And so I deal with a lot of questions for them, and I try and get them to come out here. They know about the tax credits, and they've heard some. I've heard they've heard a lot of bad things about the tax
Really?
credits.
Like what kind of bad things?
Like not getting tax credits. They want to use them differently than what Connecticut currently has them being used for. So they've heard a lot of bad things about it, but convincing them to do something always takes time. So it's just a matter of time to see if they do want to come here. But they shoot a lot of this low budget stuff gets shot in like New Zealand, Canada, and it's just a hard sell for them to come to Connecticut. It's the seasons that hold them back. They come here for the locations, but it's the dead winter. They don't want to be out here. They'd rather
Sure.
be in sunny California.
Sure. I think a lot of people are getting used to it. I mean, my experience has been that there was a lot of questions about the tax credit, whether it worked, whether you could sell the tax credits that you got. And, my company does this, so we've been doing it really from the beginning. And we kind of laugh sometimes at that rumor. It's not really true. The tax credits can be sold. It's very tricky to sell them, but you know, we've been able to do it, and some other companies out there have been able to do it. And I think as the market gets more used to the reality that these are great tax credits and that they can really, you know, reduce your budget, I think we'll see more of those people coming in, I hope.
Yeah.
Tell me about you. You're a sound engineer?
Yeah.
He had to double check on that. Yeah.
It says sound
He had to
engineer
look
up
down.
here.
Sound engineer.
What do you do? You're just sound, or you were a PA originally?
He
I'm
runs the
actually like a
company.
I'm like a computer person in general.
Yeah?
So I wasn't really a PA, but more of like tech support person. And you know, I'm into sound. So for Banshee, I did the opening scene like entirely. Like our sound for our movies is basically from scratch. We don't do any. We do some voiceover when it's necessary, but for the most part, it's all recorded on location, the voice, and then everything else is done from scratch, like using sound effect libraries and recorded
And you're working
sounds.
with all that?
Yeah, I did for this one. I did the entire opening scene. I did all the Banshee screams, like the monster sounds, a lot of other screams.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Oh, you want to hear one?
Oh
Colin?
well, actually, yeah, it's funny.
The guy who created the Banshee is actually the voice of the monster as well, but you do not want to hear it. You do not want to hear it.
Yeah,
We don't want the police.
Yeah.
We mix, you know, recorded sounds with sound effect libraries. Like, I recorded Colin Faze doing his scream for the
Then
Banshee.
Very little of that remains. He
Right, it's
Warped it.
Yeah.
added a lot of other sounds, animal sounds, and
Right. So you seem like a young guy. How old are you?
I'm 19.
19.
Right.
19. Working in this industry. How do you get into it? I mean, there's a lot of people here that want to know, how do you do how do you get up here on the panel?
Well, I mean, I got a Synthetic Cinema used to be located inside Tripeg Studios, which is located in Hamden, and I got an internship from my high school there, and I just started working with those guys. That was like 3 years ago or something.
So you didn't go to a fancy film school?
No, I'm going to college now. That's why I was only able to do like certain things on Banshee because I was in school.
Sure. Where you go?
Rensselaer, RPI.
He's going to get a
Great.
real
Intro in
job.
New York.
But you're getting the experience now, so people can do that. People can get out there. They can get the experience and be 19 years old and get into the movie business. And I think you guys are one example, but there's other people out there, other producers and directors and companies out there that are starting to try and emulate what you're doing. And I think there'll be more opportunities for people like that. But that's pretty amazing that you're up here at 19. Right?
Or you can be really old and get into
Or you can be totally over the hill and be in the same
say what you will about Shay, but he is over no hill.
I want to party with this over there. Okay, so Colin,
Yes.
tell us about you and what you're doing.
Well, I also, like Colin, I came from being a computer guy background. I started off doing digital effects before I really got into movies as a whole. And then I went to Wesleyan University and I studied film there. And I applied as an intern, actually, to Andrew 2 years ago now. And I started off as an intern and I did a lot of digital effects for the movie called Lycan, which is now known as Werewolf the Devil's Hound from Lionsgate, rented. And you know, I helped the two directors and Andrew, and I'd go and add in effects for things they couldn't do with the live effects. I had some guy's head rip off and blood shoot everywhere and that kind of thing. And I came back to do effects for Banshee after I graduated from college. And you know, the more I stayed and worked with Andrew, I came on as a full-time employee and ended up directing the movie.
Very cool. And so, where are you going from here?
It's a very good question. It's what I'm sure everybody is always dealing with in this
You're
industry.
staying in the movies, right?
Oh yeah, well I mean I'm still working for Andrew. So.
Right.
He'll do better than me. He's got like, his next one will be like multi-million-dollar movie.
One thing, what Andrew is very, very good at, and I have been very impressed by what he does, is he sees what the market is, and then he makes that movie for less than the buyers want to pay for it. Which it sounds like a very simple thing, but I know people who I graduated with or who I know from before who've made unbelievable, fabulous movies, but they cost too much, so they just can't sell them. And Andrew knows how much you can make a movie for that you can sell. So he's in a great position that he's made it for less than it's going to be bought for. So when you sell it, you're going to make money, and then you can negotiate, get the best deal, and do your thing.
That's key. And Andrew, so you're like the driving force behind this. And I mean, we've been hearing you talk, but this is your company?
Yeah, my Synthetic Cinema is owned by Rich Lucas, who's not here, and Bonnie Farley Lucas as well. So the three of us own Synthetic Cinema. We started it in 2004.
Right. And did you go to school for film?
I went to Southern for video production, and I took some courses up at the main photographic workshops. And basically, I just kind of taught myself anything and, everything that we needed to know. And then I just kind of, I wanted to get like into the artsy and the real film kind of aspect, but ended up losing a lot of money. And so I began to make friends with distributors, and they told me what they were looking for. The way I got into film distribution is a long time ago, I did a film called Trees, which is a shot-for-shot parody of Jaws. And I happened to make it exactly the same time, the 25th anniversary of Jaws, and Blockbuster picked it up, and everybody picked it up, and that got my name, and just before the big flood of DV films came in. So then I started getting asked by distributors, when's the next film coming out and all that kind of stuff, and I moved on from doing horror comedy to more straight horror stuff, exactly what distributors want.
Right. Very cool. So you're on a good ride right now.
Kinda. It's not always smooth.
Well, anybody who works in this industry knows it's a tough industry, no matter what, tax credits or not. You agree? A collective moan.
Yeah.
It's a tough industry, but there are people who go out and they make it happen, and I think a lot more people can make it happen with the tax credits. But you've done it. And
yeah, and the thing is, the key is distribution. I mean, we used to have an agent that used to hook us up with like the distributors, and she would watch 200 completed features a month. There's 5,000 features made a year. Only 100 of them get mass distribution, not counting the Hollywood stuff. So out of her, she would only sell 12 films a year out of the 200 per month that she watched.
Right.
And it's just, it doesn't have to be the best film. It just has to hit the market that they want, and we've been fortunate enough to hit the market almost every time.
Right.
But even you can always miss a market too.
Do you go to the film festivals or to the markets, AFM?
All our films go. I have no need to go to them.
Right.
In fact, everybody I do business with, I have never met in person.
So you're here in Connecticut all the time?
Yeah, I'm here in Connecticut. All our films, actually, this is the first year we haven't had a film at Cannes.
Right.
We've had it for the past 3 years. Our films were there to be sold, but they used to premiere every year. We just didn't finish Banshee in time. Trust me, we had 1 million offers like 2 months before Cannes, and we just could not finish the film in time.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter anyway, because everybody went to Cannes, and they actually came back hungrier because they realized there's no product out there.
Right.
There's product, but not the product that they're looking for.
That's right. And I think that's key to making movies is it's not just about making a good movie or a great movie. It's about making the movie that people want to see and making it at a price that they can afford to buy it.
Yeah.
So you can make a $50 million movie that is only going to sell to, a few 100,000 people, and it's not going to be good enough. Or you can make a movie for $500,000 and, sell it to a much smaller audience, but still do great with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you recognize and seem to be doing it again and again. It's so rare. I know I've said that, but it's so rare to be able to keep doing that. So that's great. And
well, hopefully we'll keep doing it till Blockbuster closes. Then we won't do it.
There you go.
Netflix.
And then Jack.
John.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It looks like John. Jack from
John.
John, you're a writer? Or?
Yeah, I co-wrote their last film, Banshee, and I just actually finished this morning the first draft for the next feature, Sasquatch Assault.
So you're the twisted mind in here?
Yeah, I had a grandmother who who forced me to watch horror movies when I was growing up, and so I watch everything, like from like the latest piece to the straight to DVD crap to like the biggest Hollywood horror film, and So I know what people like. I write for myself. You know, I'm the fan. I'm the one who's gonna rent it. So I write for what I want to see.
That sounds great. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great job.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
So, can anybody do this? What you're doing?
No, actually. No,
Talk
it's,
about that.
It's
I mean,
hard to do. Like, I always wrote when I was younger. I wrote short stories. I wrote like mini books. You know, and eventually I got into a film a lot. Like, I love movies, and so I just started studying screenwriting, and then I became Andrew's intern. Like,
Everybody's been an intern.
and it just, you know, from there. is when
Andrew, you're
they-
single-handedly building
Yeah.
the Connecticut Film
And like, you know, some people ask me like, oh, how do you just sit down and write pages? You know, well, sometimes you get an idea, it just flows right out. Like, you could sit there for like an hour one time and write 2 words, but then another hour you could sit there and write 10 pages. You know, it differs whatever your mood you're in, basically.
Right, right. So, what would you recommend for people who, because I get people all the time who say to me, I really, I love to write and I want to be a writer for film. I mean, what do they do?
Well, first of all, you make sure you have a job other than that to pay your bill. Because I work a full-time job in addition to doing this. And also, you just have to keep writing. Like, I know it sounds stupid, but you just keep writing. Sometimes you'll write complete and utter garbage and you'll want to throw it out. And also, you have to compromise a lot, too. Like, if somebody tells you, like, oh, I like this, but I'm not going to make your movie until you change this, you change that. It's better to get your name out there, get something produced and, like, stick to your guns. Like, no, I'm going to stick up for what I wrote because I like that. No, you killed it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I think people need to understand that it has to work for everybody.
Yeah, like, well, film, it's all collaboration. You have to compromise a lot. Like, we have big script meetings, like, before I actually get into writing it. Everybody puts their input in, and, I try to put everybody's input into the script. Even if I don't really like it, I'll be like, okay, I'll make it work. You just have to compromise a lot.
Sure. That's good. And you're having fun?
Yeah, I love it. It's good. Like, our time on Banshee it was like a month living with these guys.
Which was hell.
It was we didn't sleep at all, but we drank a lot of Monster Java, which is phenomenal for any of you who need to
Little plug for Monster.
And yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, John knows horror films because I don't watch horror at all.
Yeah,
right.
Which is apparent in some of the reviews we get out of films. But yeah, John knows horror better than anybody.
Yeah, I watch a lot of movies. Like, I also try to keep up on all like the companies that release the films. See like what companies releasing good movies, like what company is like completely falling off the track and they're just lost their reputation. So that's always a sign of like what to watch.
And we just throw him ideas like you wouldn't believe. Like
Yep.
if I get some international distributor says Asia's buying zombies that throw cars, I say we need zombies that throw
Yeah,
cars.
for the last movie, he called me up one day. He goes, "We need a natural disaster in Banshee," and I was like, "Okay." So we worked in staying like budgetary reasons. So we worked in like a lightning storm, then had it raining. It was
Right.
You just got to work the things in.
Yeah, because I get the input from the people who sell the films, and literally like China will come to their booth at Cannes and say, "We want Western zombies." They don't care what the script does, who's in it. They just want Western zombies.
Right.
And Banshee, I think we hit it right because it has everything in it.
Right.
I mean, you name one thing, it's in it.
Right.
I mean, every type of horror situation is in
You
it.
guys are the epitome of the market-driven movie.
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's great. That's what it takes, really. And down here, I can't. Jason.
Yep.
Jason, what are you doing with this group?
Just kind of everything. Ever since I didn't really intern, but I was a PA. I got involved on their last feature on Werewolf, and I just kind of do everything that they ask of me,
Right.
And I love doing it. It's a great break, and I have like a full-time job like some of these guys. So it's a
What
hobby.
do you do
slash-
as a full-time job?
I work in the human resources at one of the casinos. So that's sort of my strength, and that's why I did like the production manager and stuff like that.
So you guys does everybody have a full-time job?
Nah.
Okay.
I still work for
Okay,
them.
you're working. You have a
He's
full-time
retired,
job
yeah.
still. You have school.
I'm
But-
slowly hiring them when I can afford them.
Sure.
That's what I'm doing.
I mean, the key to that is that these guys are working hard, and this is not an easy industry to get into, and it takes doing things like working a day job and then going out and working all night and not getting a lot of sleep and getting it up for work the next day so you can pay the bills. But that's what it really takes to get into the industry. And the people who say, how do I get in? There are ways to get in, but it requires dedication, and it requires more than dedication, because if you're not willing to give it your all, if you're not willing to make it your passion, it's not the right industry for you, I think. You guys are an expression of that. So it's great that you're doing that, and Andrew, you're bringing them all together, because it sounds like they've all sort of worked for you at some point and are working for you now, and started as interns or PAs. So that's great. Are you seeing any of the people that are working on your movies, grips, gaffers, anything like that? Is there anybody who's moving on and doing other things, or?
Well, some move to LA, and they get jobs. I always tell them to try and build up your resume first, instead of being a small fish in a big city. Just try and build up and then go from there. A lot of people come and go, and I don't keep. Unfortunately, I have so much on my mind that I don't always remember everybody. Like, some effects person came up to me and said they were on the set for like 4 days, and I have no clue who this person was, but that's all right. But they go off and do different things.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure everybody here will do.
Yeah, well,
Great things.
I talked to one of the PAs on Banshee still, and he got a job on the Darren Aronofsky film that was shooting down in New York. So he did, it was like free PA work, but
He was doing it.
Yeah, he was still doing what he wanted.
Yep, Darren. I knew Darren before Darren was a movie maker. He used to come and hang out at my house, and he never told me he was a director. And then he called me one day and said, "I made this movie. I want you to see it, called Pi." And I saw it. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're actually like a director." So he's done his thing and stayed, I think, pretty true to his independent and unique roots, which is neat.
We'd like to see some of the, also as from an actor's perspective, with the big production companies coming into Connecticut, we'd like to see them hire some of the local Connecticut residents. They're getting our tax breaks up here, but yet they're not giving any chances to the people. There's no casting calls. I've never seen for background.
Oh, well,
Background,
I mean,
yeah.
I think that
Yeah, our crew.
or crew.
They're not,
I've heard this a lot, and there's a couple of there's actually different answers. First of all, from a background perspective, they do, and maybe they're not getting out there enough in advertising. They prefer, the bigger movies prefer to hire Connecticut residents. There's no doubt about it. They want, and it's really a financial reason, because when they bring people in, they have to put them in hotels. They do. They have to put them in hotels. They have to pay them.
Giving 5 and unders to actors.
They want to hire Connecticut people. They have constraints, though.
Connecticut people for what? For background or for?
They want to hire Connecticut people in general.
We don't see that.
Well, okay,
They
good.
bring in catering companies and everybody else from LA, even from Florida, and it's like, well, the resources don't end up being Connecticut resources, and then the tax credits get paid. Robert De Niro, Connecticut pays his salary, and he's not even a Connecticut resource. It's
Sure,
just craziness.
sure. I mean, I think that's pretty valid frustration, and it's a frustration I've heard a lot, and it's a little bit of a catch-22, and Chuck was in the last program, and the state is trying to address this, but the issue is this: you got studios, and these studios have deals signed with unions. They can't break those deals with the unions. So when they come in to make a movie, they have to use union people. And there's nothing, it's not, the state can't do anything about it. You can't really do anything about it. The production can't do anything about it.
All right, not to take away from these guys, we're talking about these guys now. What has the tax credits done to them?
What, did you get the tax credit?
Yeah, we just got the first one.
How
But,
much was it?
I don't know. Rich does all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I know it's for one of our
But it's
higher
like,
end
this is
little
helping
ones.
companies
Sure.
like this out.
Well,
This is the
okay,
point.
this is I think where we are. This is where we are. People to work on the big Hollywood movies that come in have to be in unions. That takes time to happen. The reason the state has put so many resources towards the training program is because they understand that we want to get Connecticut residents working. But you know, the tax credit program.
But it's not even about those kind of things. How's it helping a company like this out? If
Well-
it is, that's, you know.
Well,
that's
I mean, if they spend $500,000 on a movie, they're getting 150.
That's
100
not what they're spending.
Yeah, we spend significantly less than that. I mean, we do get the tax credits, but it's not huge. You know,
Connecticut is just paying out more with the bigger features
Yeah.
than they are actually helping the smaller
Yeah.
features.
Well, I think you know the tax credit program does a couple of different things. It's not just to help a small production company. It's
But
not.
it
just
should
like
help
you-
Connecticut
You
companies,
kept
not
mentioning.
It does-
people
right,
You kept
coming
mentioning
in.
tax credits and tax credits.
That's
and
right.
talking to them.
Sure.
You know, so that's why I want to know.
Absolutely.
What they're doing.
Absolutely.
You know, you're like, oh, the tax credit, it sounds like they were doing fine without it. You know what I mean? And I want to know what.
So would you rather not have the tax
No,
credits?
I'm just
Well,
saying
they would still
what
be
is-
making
We'd still
movies
be doing
without
it.
tax credits.
Yeah.
Right,
Just-
exactly.
The
I just
tax
wanna
credits
know
help
what
some.
But
the
Robert
tax
De
credits
Niro
are
wouldn't
doing.
still be making movies in
for a
Connecticut
company
without
like
tax
this.
Right,
credits.
and that would be good.
$50,000 bottom line. I mean, if you spend $50,000, you're eligible for the tax credits. I mean,
That's right.
That's a very, very low level for tax credits nationwide. Some of the others
Sure.
have much higher cutoffs. So that is actively encouraging the film business here in Connecticut. I mean, I presume you guys you spend 50 on your picture.
Yeah, we spend more than that, but
Yeah.
even on what's funny about the state is, even when we do because we do some higher end corporate stuff, if you spend very close to that, let's say you spend 60, they look over your tax like you wouldn't believe. And why are they looking over my stuff when I'm spending it in state when they're not looking over other stuff?
When they're bringing in catering.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
is it that you think that they don't look at it?
We had 3 of our for our first tax credit, they refused 3 times. Then they came back, and the entire thing was spent in state to do one production. That was just
Right.
a high end corporate production.
Right. Well, you know, from what I understand, there's rules, and there's a method of applying for it, and you do have to give them the information that they need, or they can't distribute the tax
Yeah,
credit
we,
to
we
you.
gave them the information. Then they changed the information
Right.
twice.
Well, what do you think that they can do to improve it?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Is it at all valuable to you? Like the 50, let's say you have a $200,000 movie or a $100,000 movie. $100,000 movie, if you get a $30,000 tax credit, would you prefer to get that or not?
It is. I do prefer getting a tax credit.
Okay.
It costs a lot of money to have your accountants deal with it
Yes.
three times in a row.
Yeah.
You know, that's tough. Plus, you have to have a percentage on the sale. You know, when you sell the tax credits. I'm not sure. I'm not a tax person. I'm not the one in the business who does it all. I just know that Rich goes through a lot of frustration with it, and I don't know. You know, my problem with the Hollywood stuff is, you know, I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they're spending money, but are they truly spending all that money in the state?
I work with a lot of these guys, and I can tell you that they're spending the money. You go to any set and see that they're spending the money. And you know, the thing is that the people sitting right here have the potential to work on these movies, and other people in this building have the
They're
potential.
not union, though. You just said they're all union. How
Right,
is
and
that
that's
gonna
what the
have
training
potential?
program is about, and that's what
Which benefits you as well, though.
it benefits everybody. The tax credit program is bringing movies into this state.
Yes, but these movies, are you going to say that the money that has been given out on tax credits has not exceeded the amount that was spent in Connecticut? The money that has been given for tax credits has been more than has actually been spent on Connecticut resources, actual Connecticut resources.
Yet, you know, they have to spend the money in Connecticut.
That you're not answering the question, though. Has the Connecticut resources, the money spent on actual Connecticut resources has been less than the money given in actual tax credits to these companies?
No, that's
Yes,
absolutely
that
not
is true.
true.
It's been documented. It's true.
No. Do you want to get rid of the tax credits? I'm
These
curious.
guys
What do you
here
do?
who we're having the panel on, they will make movies with or without tax credits.
Right.
We are spending money on companies coming in to benefit for tax credits, but they don't have to have all Connecticut resources.
So you're vocal, but tell me what you would do to improve
I
it.
would make sure that every single travel agency, hotels, which has been going on.
What state is it that has the best one?
The point is, we're here to talk about these guys.
Sure. Well,
And the whole thing is the fact is, you pointed tax credits to them. You said tax credits helped, and I just want to know what
Sure.
they were
They're
doing.
probably the only company
What?
that is actually utilizing 100% of Connecticut residents to do 100%
That's
of
right.
their product.
Crew.
I agree. I agree.
They're probably the only
I agree.
company in Connecticut
I
that
agree.
do that.
That's
That is what your tax credit is about. This
That's
company is about what they're doing.
right. But understand that if we want to develop this tax credit, if we want to develop this industry in the state, this industry isn't about just $200,000 movies and $100,000 movies. This industry is about creating jobs, and those jobs aren't just in the film industry. It's not just about saying, okay, you're an independent filmmaker, let's help all the independent filmmakers. This is about creating jobs. Jobs in hotels, jobs in restaurants, jobs with construction companies that are building
But you're
stages
bringing
But it's
for
everybody
based
people.
on
out
it's
of
based
state.
on film. It's based on actors.
It's based on
directors,
film, but it's an
scripts.
economic development policy. It's
Well,
not
what
a
about
policy.
The resources that are already here,
Hmm?
how do they get utilized?
The resources that are
Here.
already here,
They're like ignored, and you're bringing everything else.
it
in.
sounds like
So-
they're utilizing the tax credit. You know, the,
They are.
right.
They have been because
Exactly.
they're using 100% of their resources are Connecticut resources.
Sure.
Mhm.
These major multi-million-dollar movies are not using 100% of Connecticut resources.
You need an entree somewhere
Connecticut
to a
is
union.
paying out
Sure.
more in
Yeah.
tax credits than is being
It
spent
can't
in
because of
Connecticut.
the union situation that Kevin talked about.
Yeah.
where
But
the big
then how is
picture's coming
training
in.
these people, then they get in the union?
Yes,
It's
that's
like
the-
that.
This
you
is
have
And
to
what
have-
about the people
yeah.
that are, you know what I mean? It's like the resources are here,
there,
why not
look,
use them?
there is a benefit to a company that's making small movies, and there's a benefit to people who are able to get on those jobs. There's a benefit to people who ultimately get in the unions and work on the bigger movies. There's a benefit to people who work as PAs or as extras on the bigger movies. There's benefits to the restaurants, to the dry cleaners, to
Honestly,
the
those are
lumber
only people I
yards,
see who are getting
to
those
the
benefits.
construction
Are the
companies.
cops, are the
The
firemen.
cops get a huge
You know, those are
benefit.
the only ones I see who are getting these benefits.
Okay,
But
so
again,
so
it's
the
not-
the
we're not
idea
here to
is
talk
no we
totally
are
about the
actually
tax
the
credit.
idea
No.
the idea
These
is that
guys are here to talk, you know.
the
talk
idea
about
yeah well
synthetics.
right but when you're talking about it and understand that if you want to continue to develop the industry in this state, then the fact that we have these people in here spending money and slowly spending more and more money on Connecticut residents because of the training program and because people are learning and more people are getting into it, then we have to support it. And you have to give it time to develop. And you have to give
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Kevin. How many folks know about the training program? I mean, Kevin's referred to it a few times, and it's actually something that also bridges what Kevin's talking about and what these guys are up to. It's basically trying to train the Connecticut workforce to try to begin to get people introduced to all these high-end features that are coming into the state. Beginning to let them understand teach them the structure of these films, how they work, what one does to get into the unions. In other words,
But the
and this is
unions
all
are either
tax-
New York or Boston or Rhode Island.
They're New York.
Unions,
They're not New
they
York.
don't travel any
Yeah,
further
let's
north
not
than
take away.
Stamford, is
Right.
basically it.
there
There's
are
like
there are
catch-22
pictures
to
being
everything,
made.
Taken away from
Now,
them.
what happens though when somebody gets trained and joins the union? They're not going to stay in Connecticut.
Yeah.
There's not enough work here. They're going to go to LA. They're going to go to
This
New
is
York.
What we're trying to do is to get more work here, and there is work coming in here. The work has to be here in order for the workforce to be trained, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
The state is,
Maybe,
the
are there
state
people
is given.
trained? Look at all these people here. How many of them are working on these features?
We're
But they all seem
we're
to
all
have-
trained actors.
I've run into
We go- we get our
enough-
They all
training
seem
in
to have
New York City.
experience.
We get our
Yeah, but
training
where is
in
that?
New York
Right.
City.
You know, the thing is, you gotta say, what do we have? You gotta say, what do we have, and where can we go? Okay, what did we have before this tax credit program?
We have these guys making
Okay,
movies
good. That's great.
regardless.
That's great.
Regardless.
Is there any more Connecticut residents working than had been working?
I don't
Doing
think
extra
so, no.
work, maybe doing
Yeah,
extra
but
work for
that's not an
$75 a
honest
day.
answer. I gotta tell you, that's not an honest answer, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm seeing it every day. I'm seeing it every day. They're working in our facilities, but they're working in other facilities. They're here. They're Connecticut residents. We meet them. We see the people not who are just working on the movies, but people who are benefiting from the industry. And so, you know, you gotta.
Like
You,
you and who else?
are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There are thousands of people at this point that are benefiting from this, and it's not just film crew. You can talk about film crew, but this isn't about let's train Connecticut residents to be filmmakers and only filmmakers. This is about economic development. This is about bringing people into the state to spend a lot of money, and they do it, and they create jobs. Would you rather there no? Would you know as some? Are you interested in the film industry?
Barn door lighting.
Yes. Okay. I went to Barn Door Lighting. Yeah, we'll talk about this afterwards. But the reality is, people are working here. They're working in this industry, and the only thing that we can do is continue to develop it. We had $750,000 in production in the first half of '06, $52 million in the second half, over $300 million. And if you don't think Connecticut residents are being employed, you're just wrong. And
But what is the amount of that that's given out in tax
We're gonna
credits?
continue this afterwards, guys, we have to close this up, you guys.
Okay.
Talk about this afterwards.
sorry to take it off of these
That's
guys.
right, that's right.
What you guys are doing is great. What I think is going to happen with you is that you're going to keep making these, and you're going to start getting the tax credits, and it's going to make you easier to make your productions. Maybe you can pay your guys a little bit more, hire more of them full time. Some of them will ultimately decide that they want to go for union membership. They'll start working on bigger movies. Some of them will move out to LA. Some of them will move to New York and work. The point is that it will develop the industry, and I believe that, and I think that you guys are on the ground floor of developing the industry. I think that's a great thing.
Okey dokey.